Bob, so great talking to you. I had so much fun talking about your career and the perspective of a commissioner and athletic director and how that shapes college athletics and how those people have such an impact on the coaches and the student athletes that maybe gets overseen. I want to get into recruiting a little bit with you. Were your daughters athletes?
Both were high school athletes. One daughter, my older one, Alex, played field hockey, Division II field hockey at Adelphi University here on Long Island.
It's big time.
She went there as a two-sport athlete and ended up just for track and field hockey, and ended up just focusing on field hockey. And my younger one ended up, it was a pretty good athlete herself, but ended up coaching a little bit on the, she's a social worker. Alex, the older one, is an administrator in college athletics, and
Very
younger
cool.
one is a social worker, a school social worker, and she coached a little bit. So, but a lot of how I looked at, or I started looking at college athletics came through my time with Alex, really.
Yeah, that's very cool. Let's say you've got the girls are teenagers now, and in today's world, what advice would you give them in terms of looking for a school for their future? Are there things that you've learned that you'd say, girls, find the place you love, but here are some things that you need to ask questions about? Where would you begin with that with your
Yeah.
daughters?
So I'm probably not going to say anything that your previous guests have already said. So I don't have any groundbreaking stuff. But I think the first thing that you did say is always should always be the priority. What's your goal? What do you want to study? And let's find the best place for you that offers a program that you think would be, from an academic perspective, that's going to prepare you for your future. I think it's almost so obvious, but doesn't always happen. Yeah. Being realistic, I think, about level of play is so important. And
It's huge.
one of the difficult things now, I think, that's so different from when I was not a great athlete in school and I didn't have any intention of playing in college, but as I see things progressing and how the world has moved to a travel team U model, and in some places, the school sports have taken a back seat to those kind of programs. I wonder how realistic and how what kind of information some of these students get about their level of play when they're part of a program that's the perfect where the people that are coaching them and helping and supposed to be helping them are really motivated by how many people can they put into Division I or help get
Yeah,
scholarships, or rather than looking at what's the right fit.
that's
Um,
right.
and I don't want to paint that with a broad brush there, because there's probably tons of people out there that are doing exactly the right thing, but it is definitely different. And so finding the fit and asking the questions. When you get onto a campus or when you're starting to really think, is this a place for me? Oh, they're interested in me. Okay, now start making sure that fit is going to
Yeah,
be there for you.
yeah. It gets undersold, I think, how important that fit is. When you were an AD for a long time, and when you're a college AD, especially at the D2 level, you're not dealing with parents a ton, and you hope you never have to deal with parents. But if you could sit down parents that have that 16, 17-year-old that have that dream of playing in college, and you could give them some advice, what direction would you take them?
The first thing I used to, when I was an AD and even my early commissioner years, I would be asked by local high schools or other college fairs to come speak about recruiting and things like that. And one of the main things I would say is, remember, this is not about you. This is about your child, and your child needs to do the work. Support is always important and essential, but your child. I was in situations where a family would come to visit a campus, and the parents were doing all the talking, and the kid was sitting there, and I used to think to myself, this is never going to work. So the first thing is, remember, this is for your child, and that whole part about living vicariously through your child, which is a real thing in some cases,
Yeah,
has to be set aside. Being realistic and asking the questions of where my child should be. And some of that has to be asked of the high school coach and the club coaches, and but also maybe trying to get assessments from other people that know. And sometimes the most valuable assessment comes from the college coach of
right.
a school that I think that you have an interest in. Do you think this my child can? The flip side of that is that this world has changed a lot too. I would love to say that this is a buyer's market at this point, that families should go on campus and say, this is what I want. I expect this much playing time. I expect this much aid, or I'm going to go to the next person. You're buying a car. To some degree, coaches may be your best friend in that case because they need, or they've been told you. I've heard of stories where baseball programs are being told you need to have 50 people on your roster.
I have two.
And so the coach is saying, whatever it takes, if they're going to fit into this segment, and I
Yeah,
could offer $2,500, and they're looking for that because they could say they have a scholarship and they're
yep,
going to come. I don't want to say that coaches can be disingenuous, but I think
yeah,
sometimes they can be. And promises of playing time, promises of a spot on the team. I think you have to ask questions and then also look for references and talk to other people. So it's, I think there's opportunities for places on teams, but you also have to make sure you're doing all your research. The other part of that, though, Matt, is that this world has changed so much too. Is that it used to be the people would say the biggest decision that a college age student is making in their life is where they're going to go to college. But as we know from athletics, if it's not a good fit, you could be gone by December and playing at the next place
you
the
got the
next
truth.
year.
That's right.
And which is when I think about the pressure. So the pressure on the family is to find the right fit, to do all the self-promotion that is needed, have the video available and have the information and do your research about a school that makes sense academically and be realistic. We were saying in an earlier segment about the what does D2 bring? And there's opportunities there that, in some people's minds, I'm going to wait and I'm sure I'll get that D1 offer.
Right.
D2 offers a great opportunity, and as does D3. The flip side is you have coaches that need to make often a certain requirement of enrollment or roster size. And so it's a game of balancing act there too.
I tell families all the time, there's going to be coaches that are going to come after you, but it's not going to feel like they're coming after you. They're coming after you as a number. You talked about the baseball coach that needs 50 players because their president has set an agenda of that. That baseball coach might say, I'm happy with 35. I know we're going to win with 35. So 36 to 50, I don't really care. As long as they're good kids, they're not going to be a pain in my butt. We'll give them the $2,500 and get them on campus, but they're never going to see the light of day. And they're probably not going to get coached and developed the way they could be.
And
It's
if 10 of
frustrating.
those kids stick around for the following year and five leave, that's the price of doing business here.
That's right.
Because I'll just go out and I'll go recruit another 20 guys next year.
Yeah.
To me, it's not a great system, but there's plenty of schools that are using it to survive. So a lot of it, I think, it's not any different from, when you were recruiting. It's some of it is buyer beware. Make sure you're asking questions, gathering your information,
That's right.
getting background on the coach. If when you're making a campus visit, ask questions of the other
Right.
student athletes who are on the team and trying to and then ask around too from people that you trust. And there are opportunities out there. And don't discount Division two and three because they could be the best fit. We keep thinking about scholarship. I want to say have a scholarship. Division three doesn't give scholarship, but if you're a pretty good student, there's a chance you're going to get a ton of other kinds of aid at that
That's right.
institution as well.
I've come full circle, and the basketball coach at Queen's University helped me do this the other day. I've been fighting the portal. I've been fighting NIL. I've been finding ways. How can I, in my little mind, how can I change the world? And really what it's come back to is I'm telling families now, go somewhere where you can play. Because if you go somewhere where you may not play, and you may not play for a year or two, serious minutes, serious opportunity, you're going to be miserable and you're going to end up quitting or wanting to transfer. And you're going to see that yellow light, that portal that says, oh, go to the light. I'm going to jump in the portal. There's something better out there for me. Go somewhere where you can play and they want you and they love you. And then if you do, let's say you dominate as a freshman and you're all American as a sophomore at that level, most coaches, they're going to bite their cheek and their tongue and go, yeah, if somebody wants you at the higher level, go, I'll help you get there. They're not going to love it, but they're going to do it. And it's because that's how Division I coaches are recruiting now. And even Division II coaches, if there's something better down below, if you watch these bowl games, these football bowl games, It seems like every other play they're talking about that kid that was a D2 or FBS kid or at a small tiny school and was all American. He made the jump. That's the world we're in now.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that in the long run, I know it's the thing that the NCAA always puts out their commercials that say, such a
Yeah,
small percentage are going to have an opportunity to keep playing after they're done with college. So I agree completely with you. Find a place that's going to be a good experience for you, where you could be successful academically. So when that fit part is, so it's not just about that academic program that you want. Can I be successful here
yeah,
academically? Can I learn? Will I have the support if I need academic support, personal and emotional support if I'm struggling? And for parents, do you feel that your child will be safe there? Is it a
right,
place that will help them?
exactly. Bob, last question. Same kind of question as before, but this time to the student athlete. Let's say your daughters are 15, 16, and they say, Dad, I really want to play in college. What advice would you give them to start that journey and do it in a healthy way?
Talk to people. I think part of it is it's kind of like networking for a
Yeah,
job. Is
it
who do you
is.
know that's in the business that can help you? Is there someone in the family? Is there someone connected with your high school coach, your club coach that could give you some direction and a real assessment of where you want to go? The other part is that there's just so many resources out there now. And these high school kids know better than most kids that are even a generation older, where they could go find that information about certain schools and what they want to study. And give yourself some options also. Never put everything in all your eggs in that basket. I think the elite, I used to say, you never know, kids fall through the cracks. It's pretty hard to fall through the cracks
It
these days.
really is anymore. Yeah,
There's just so much information out there about people and recruiting services and all those kind of things. Knowing what you want and not being afraid to promote yourself is important too. I was just thinking about one of the things a coach told me when I was thinking about mental health of coaches and the stress and the pressure. And they said, you know what the hardest thing is? I have to watch, I'll get in a day, I'll get 50 videos emailed to me
yeah,
from students. And if I recognize a name or a team, I may look at it. A lot of them never even get viewed. But the fact is, there's just such an overload of information out there for coaches. And it's like when you're looking for a job and you go on Indeed or LinkedIn and said, I apply. I'll have students say, I applied for a job. I never heard back. I said, you know how many thousands of people probably applied for that same job?
that's right.
The competition is real. So my advice is do your research, start early, start thinking about it, be realistic and ask questions. Never be afraid. If you're not getting the answers, keep on digging, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and I not to plug myself, and I don't want people thinking that this is what this is about, but anybody can get on my website, schedule 30 minutes with me. You don't have to pay me a thing. In 30 minutes, I'll ask you 5 questions and I'll set you up on what to do and how to do it the right way. And there's people like me out there, find one, but the more you can understand your value, the better your path is too. Like you talked about this many times today. You got to know who you are. You got to know your reality. And the more you understand your reality, the easier it is to, if you know what you're qualified for, it's a lot easier to go after the job.
Yeah, I agree. I used to think to myself, I would hear stories of kids that said, I know it's August, but I think I'll still hear from a school about a D1 school. I'm sure I'm going to be hearing from them. And there's an offer out from the institution saying, listen, we're happy to have you. You'd be a good team. Here's what we could do for you. And by the time, listen, we said earlier, there's a lot that's not great right now about college athletics. The fact that coaches are recruiting their teams knowing that there's a good chance that a large number of those students won't be around the following year.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a great set. I don't think it's a great concept that a student moves from school to school and I don't understand how they think that they're going to graduate at some point unless the system's changing. But all that being said, I still think what an opportunity to be able to play a sport on the college level and what it means if you're looking at it the right way for personal growth and opportunity. What an amazing opportunity.
I agree wholeheartedly. Bob, thank you so much for doing this. I know you're semi-retired and you're probably working more than you ever did, but thank you for your time and your
My
wisdom and
pleasure.
your experience. And I know our listeners will appreciate it. I wish you all
Well,
the best.
I feel free to share my info and my email if I could help, or and obviously with Matt, with you, I look forward to talking again because I think we come from the same direction here, which I love. So that's great.
And thanks to Bet Namowski for introducing us, and so
Coach
thankful
Bet.
for
Yep.
her that
Good person.
I have you in my life. So thank you,
Okay.
sir.
You bet.